a partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro?
Yeah, you're just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're
Go
not
join.
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
that just we're the only society on Earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, which I know many, they're irrelevant.
Good afternoon, misfits, or whatever we call Kevin's audience. My name is Zach Bonfilio. I am the host of the Daily Breakdown, usually at 9 a.m. You just heard from Sean with Ungoverned that Kevin is dealing with something going on with his mom. I was here yesterday filling in. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some of you are back for today. Yeah, it's really strange doing the afternoon because what I do is I go to work and then I go, okay, I'm setting some tile. I run a remodeling company. I'm setting some tile and I'm like halfway through the wall and I'm like, okay, 12:45. I gotta go up. I was setting some tile. You know what? Actually, let me show you guys. We'll get to that later. I had this job, and here you go. And yesterday, this is what I did. I was, about 3/4 of the way up from the wall. If I had not been filling in for Kevin, I probably would have finished the wall. I probably would have moved on and done some more tile work. And it's kind of a good thing that I was filling in yesterday because after I left, my customer goes, hey, wasn't that tile supposed to be vertical? And I was like, not that I'm aware of. They're like, I thought we talked about that. I'm like, I remember we talked about brick pattern, staggered pattern, what have you. And he was like, we'd really like it vertical. So after the show yesterday, I went back and I literally pulled all that off the wall, which was fine because it was still semi-wet, right? So see here, I had to go back and I had to pull all that off. And then today I went and I turned it vertical. So let me ask you guys in the chat, what do you think looks better? Do you think the horizontal or the vertical looks better? All right, I know this is a show about politics, but let's have some fun for a few minutes, okay? Come on, we can multitask. Okay, here's vertical, and here's horizontal. Okay, there's horizontal and vertical. We got one horizontal, we got one vertical. This is kind of like Fan Mail Friday, right? We're taking, everyone's guessing. Not using Blue Board? No. I don't use Blue Board. Blue Board? What? Blue Board? You mean drywall? No, this is Go Board. That is waterproof board. That is fully waterproof. That is made out of a polystyrene. Vertical, horizontal. Looks like, looks like it's a little split. Vertical and horizontal. Anyway, enough about me. All right? Because this is what we really do here. All right? So, I'm covering Kevin's show, so I wanted to really just sort of focus on the news. I'm not sure how he likes to structure his show, but I do this. I used to do this thing called Just the News, right? Before we had themes of the day, Just the News is when I really just cover the news. I'll show you in a minute. And I told Eli, our wonderful producer, by the way, he's probably going to pop in here any minute now and tell you to share. So let me get ahead of that and just remind everybody, please share this. It's down there somewhere, but hit that thumbs up and share this out because, we like to We like to build the parallel or the counter messaging to the crazy podcastistan, and we have a great team here at LFA, so we need you to do your part. You look like you're on the toilet. I am, by the way, I look like I'm on the toilet. I am in a very luxurious leather recliner reading a newspaper with Kevin's photo on it. Replace Thune ASAP in the chat. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, so just the news. We're just going to pretty much cover the news today. We're going to, jump on DuckDuckGo, and you can see here, I just typed in news, right? So we got some stories. Ooh, I don't know what I just did. We got some stories here. Let's see here. We got Middle East every day. There's something on that. Cardi B slams, quote, disgusting Carmelo Anthony conviction. We'll talk about that. Bill Gates tells lawmakers he was not aware of Epstein's crimes. Okay. Key takeaways from primaries in Maine, South Carolina, and Nevada. We'll talk about that. Nancy Mace, we'll talk about that. But you know what? I do want to jump into a couple of things. All right. So Sean was talking about this in his last, in the last hour. Right. I've been warning about this guy, Jake Lang. Sean's been warning about this guy, Jake Lang. I don't know which one of us did it first, but we started doing it right around the same time. And Jake Lang is a provocateur, and he's most likely, I don't like to do the Candace Owens, Ian Carroll conspiracy theory rabbit hole, just asking questions, Illuminati runs the world BS. But I would say that there is a non-zero chance that Jake Lang is controlled opposition. And here's why. I'm not just, just asking questions. I have actual, I would say, circumstantial evidence and hearsay and, just sources that would lead me to believe why Jake Lang is potentially controlled opposition. What does controlled opposition mean? For those of you that don't know, it's somebody that the opposing side, in this case it would be the left, uses to divide and conquer on the right, or vice versa, right? We use these operations, psychological operations, in other countries. Other countries use them in this country. Jake could be something from another country. He also could just be a clout-chasing, grifting, racist retard. I don't know. So this is why, at least I say that I might not be right on this. I don't say we know. Maybe the SPLC hired Jake. Hold on. I mean, Sly 57 here. Maybe the SPLC hired Jake. We know that the SPLC was paying white supremacist organizations to continue the racial divide in America. So, possible. But here's what I know. Okay, I've had conversations with people who were inside. Jake Lang is a January 6er, right? He's one of the people that were locked up because of January 6th. He's also one of the very few people who deserved to be locked up. He should have been arrested. He was swinging an aluminum baseball bat at a Capitol Police officer's head, and I think that no matter how you feel about the results of the 2020 election, swinging a bat at a police officer's head is illegal. You shouldn't do that. In this country, we have the right to peaceful assembly. Keyword, peaceful. We have that right. That is your First Amendment right. Oh, I typed in Jake. That's why. Here, let me put in his full name, and we will show you the video of him swinging a baseball bat at a Capitol Police officer's head. And you can feel a certain type of way about Capitol Police. You can feel a certain type of way about a lot of things, right? But objectively, swinging a bat like this is Jake Lang. he's literally he just hit a Capitol police officer in the head. The Capitol police officer was wearing a helmet, okay, had a riot shield, but this is clear cut, 100%, no need for any further information. You are, in fact, swinging a aluminum baseball bat at a cop's head, right? This was one of the first things that I saw where I went, nope, we ain't aligning with that guy.
Oh, I had a steel baseball bat, fucking swinging for the stars.
And there is a verbal admission that it was him. He had an aluminum baseball bat and he was, quote, swinging for the stars. Does anybody dispute the fact that Jake Lang is, based on the evidence presented here, right, guilty of assault on an officer? Okay? So, after this, start talking to Timothy Hale, start talking to some other people. Jake Lang reaches out to me via DM, and my only reply to him was, nope. I'm not even joking. I mean, hold on. You know what? Because it's funny. Jake Lang. Where's Jake Lang? But yeah, I heard a bunch of stuff about him, and here. This is how you deal with Jake Lang. Hey, brother. Nope. He sends me more stuff. I don't reply. Nope. That's how you deal with Jake Lang. Nope. So look, I talked to some people. There's a lot of people who believe that he was getting cell phones and tablets inside so that he could reach out to people in the MAGA movement from inside jail and get them caught up in some type of, like admission where he was trying to reduce his sentence. That's the general consensus among people. I mean, he was saying that he was in solitary confinement, yet he was on Alex Jones from jail. He was calling in to do podcasts from solitary confinement. I don't know if you know, but that's not how it works. There was just a lot of weird stuff, right? A lot of weird stuff. But anyway, fast forward to, 5-6 years later, he gets out because Trump had to pardon everybody, right? And I think that Trump maybe should have kept him in, but you know what? I'm not mad at Trump for doing a blanket pardon, because the way I explain it is when Trump pardoned J6ers, he was pardoning the act of arresting J6ers based on some two-tier justice system. So you have to undo it completely, which means you're going to actually let a couple people out that were probably not the best, right? The vast majority of the people who were persecuted for January 6th, Isabella Maria De Luca, who doesn't even like me, but I'll still defend her. She was indicted or almost arrested for touching a table that was later used, and it was thrown at like an officer by somebody else, right? There was a lot of shady stuff going on January 6th. So Trump had to blanket pardon everybody. So Jake gets out. While he's in jail, he raises over $1 million with GoFundMe's because he's lying to his audience from his tablet that he has inside that's probably approved by whoever gave it to him, that was like, hey, you know what? If you get us some information on people, then, we'll reduce your sentence. He was also delaying his own trial because strategically he was thinking that if Trump did win, then he would pardon them, which actually worked out, right? But now, here he is, he gets out, and what does he do? What does he immediately start doing? He immediately starts going and inserting himself into a bunch of situations, making the MAGA movement look like retards, right? He goes in, he jumps into these protests in Minnesota. He's got a lot. He's on camera saying, we're not gonna let Jews turn our kids into a bunch of N-word lovers, right? And then he starts going after Austin Metcalf's father. Okay, so let's remind everybody. Jake Lang said this to Austin Metcalf's
To stand by me in it.
No, let it talk.
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir.
Boom. That is Jake Lang telling the father of the young boy who was killed by Carmelo Anthony that it's his fault for not being racist. Jake Lang said to Austin Metcalf's father, you are creating more Austin Metcalfs, your son, with your cowardice by not being racist. Because you know why he did this? Because Austin Metcalf's father forgave Carmelo Anthony and said we need to have an end to racism and violence. Pardon my language, I'll hit the naughty button, but f*** this piece of shit. I have a naughty button. I don't know if you guys don't watch my other show, I bleep it. But sometimes it slips. If it does slip...
I don't know why you gotta do it in front of the kid with the effing. All you gotta do is say earmuffs to him. Earmuffs.
We have the earmuffs apology. But my point is, it's continuous, it's nonstop, right? And now we're dealing with, sorry, I have a lot, here we go. A lot of clips of this kid. We have this now, right? This is Jake Lang outside of the Carmelo Anthony trial. So first he starts attacking the father of Austin Metcalf. And then he goes out and he says this. Why is it not playing? Come on, let's just refresh that. Okay.
The tree outside. Carmelo Anthony should be swinging from a tree outside this courthouse. Carmelo Anthony should be swinging from a tree outside this courthouse.
Carmelo Anthony should be swinging from a tree outside of this courthouse. So as Sean was saying in the previous hour, right, which I was listening to on my drive back here to rush back here so I could fill in. If you're aligning with this guy because you agree with him on, one or two things like maybe Islam, maybe you don't realize that he's a grifter and a liar, and maybe you've only seen selectively edited clips of him, and maybe you actually didn't know any of this. But if you didn't, and now you do, right? My question to you is, when you accept a person, right, when not a viewpoint, a person, as somebody that you are saying, this person, Jake Lang, advocates for X, right? Advocates for XYZ. You're owning everything else they say, right? You can't selectively choose when you align with a person, right? Because you can say, I could say, like, I had this debate with Enrique Tarrio, right? And Enrique Tarrio was like, well, you don't like Nick Fuentes, but don't you agree with him on net zero migration? I go, no, I agree with net zero migration. I don't agree with Nick Fuentes on net zero migration. I'm not attaching Nick Fuentes' name to the thing I agree with, because then I'm agreeing with Nick Fuentes. It's not, Nick Fuentes isn't the founder or the first person that ever thought of net zero migration. So if you want to say what Jake Lang says about Islam is correct, okay, You could, I guess you could say that, right? But if you say Jake Lang is correct, right? So we need to start having this thing called discernment. All right? We need to start realizing when we attach ourselves to people, not ideas, people, right? We are essentially hitching ourselves to everything they say. What's the old saying? Show me who your friends are, I'll show you who you are, right? And you, the audience, I already do this. You need to do a better job of that. I'm not saying you don't. This is if the shoe fits, wear it. If not, don't. But the audience, we all need to do a better job of realizing who is messaging for us. Because if Jake Lang is controlled opposition, it's working. And if he's not, you're just doing it wrong. All right. So, Jake Lang was also arrested for terroristic threats. A lot of people think it's because of what he just said in that clip. It's not. He was not arrested for saying Carmelo Anthony should be hanging from a tree, right? That makes him a piece of shit, but it's not illegal. No. So here's the arrest record. And the reason why he was actually arrested, his girlfriend confirmed. She posted from his account. I just got an update. Jake Lang was arrested by dozens of DPS Texas federal police officers who ripped him off a plane, handcuffed him, and drove him away. He has been charged with 3 Class 3 terroristic threats for saying if the jury didn't find Carmelo Anthony guilty, that Jake would take care of it himself. That's a freaking death threat. If he's basically saying, he's threatening the jury, the judge, and anyone else who's advocating that Carmelo Anthony should not be found guilty. I think that he should have been and was, right? But he's saying, if you don't give me what I want, I will take care of it. And we all know what take care of it means, right? He said he should be hanging from a tree, and if you don't find him guilty, I'll take care of it myself. Yeah, he should definitely have been arrested. And he can go through the due process that every single citizen is afforded to in this country of innocent until proven guilty. He can go through his trial, and he can take all that money he raised grifting while he was a political prisoner, and he can spend it on a lawyer. Because what goes around does, in fact, come around. And this is not going to be cheap. He's at $1 million bond right now. Good. I'm a free speech advocate, but I'm also a law and order advocate. And this bullshit is illegal. You do not get to threaten the public or a jury or whoever. If you don't get your way, you're going to murder somebody, because that's the implication. He can go argue it in court. We're in the court of public opinion here, all right? I'm not on a jury. I can have opinions. You can disagree. We can all banter, right? A lot of people have that conflation where they go, if you say something, then you're not for the rule of law. Everybody's innocent, proven guilty. You're innocent until proven guilty, but just because you're presumed innocent doesn't mean you are. And because I have this thing called the First Amendment, I could say, I think he's guilty, right? That's my right. Oh, some idiot in the chat. I hope I might be wrong. I might be wrong. Hold on. Let me see if I'm reading this correctly. So are you saying it's okay for black people to say it? Are you speaking to me? Are you speaking to me? Or is there something going on in the chat? If that is to me, I'm going to go full screen. I want you to really focus, okay? Whether that was directed at me or not, okay? Let I'm gonna pull this mic up here. I want you to really, let's get it down a little bit. Okay. Whataboutism isn't an argument. Whataboutism is not an argument. So if I say one person is doing something wrong, and you go, what about the other people who are doing wrong things? Did I talk about those other people? Have I addressed all of the black people that have done anything wrong in their lives? Right? No, I didn't. You, dumbass, you just threw that in there, right? No. Anyone who does what Jake Lang did should go to jail. Anyone. If you're upset that they aren't in jail, you can go get yourself a badge and you can start arresting them. But instead, you're in my comment section typing dumb bullshit, so shush. Unlike you, sir, ma'am, don't know, don't care. Unlike you, I don't play this stupid game of, well, I think that we should be able to do bad things because other people do bad things. I'm not a reactionary. I'm not a moron. I am of the belief that wrong is wrong. If I'm talking about Jake Lang, I think what Jake Lang did is wrong. If you would like me to talk about something else, we can. But that's not what I was talking about. Okay. But speaking of, calling out both sides, Carmelo Anthony's parents are also pieces of garbage. And I think that they didn't do anything illegal. Highly immoral, right? Speaking of Jake Lang raising millions of dollars and having to use it, et cetera, Carmelo Anthony's parents are pretty much just as bad as Jake Lang. They're horrible people, just like Jake Lang. In case that moron in the chat didn't want to, just wait a few seconds, this was the next slide. Carmelo Anthony's parents, I believe, used the tragedy that their son was part of to create an opportunity for them, not for him, for them, right? They raised $625,000, bought a new house instead of spending every penny of it on a lawyer. And then even after he was convicted, they kept the campaign going and were still pulling in donations. And people rightfully were like, hey, really? So Give, Send, Go has unpublished this campaign. I'm sure that they get to keep the money. But I said it this morning, and nothing's changed since this morning. Carmelo Anthony is a murderer. He is a murderer who should have been and was convicted of murder. He was a first-time offender with no criminal history, and he was a 17-year-old stupid kid. So while he is a murderer, and while he made a horrible, life-altering decision, right, I don't think that he should be given the death penalty. I don't think that we should be treating him as if he were, let's say, George Floyd, right, who, robbed a pregnant woman at gunpoint. It's just a horrible, tragic situation, and nothing in the entire trial was presented as evidence that Carmelo Anthony attacked Austin Metcalf or stabbed Austin Metcalf based on race. So this wasn't a racially motivated attack as far as we know. It's from a 17-year-old kid who's probably very misguided because his parents are garbage demons, not because they're black, by the way. I know what you're about to frickin' say in the chat, you racist retard. It just sucks. 2 kids' lives are ruined. His parents could have spent every dollar of that money on a really good attorney. They could have taken a plea deal, but they didn't, right? And now he's in jail for at least 17 years, up to 35. He's going to either get out in his 30s, 40s, or 50s, right? And hopefully, he uses the time in prison to reflect on what he did and try to spend time praying and trying to make up for it and asking for forgiveness. And then when he gets out, whenever he gets out, I would hope that he utilizes his freedom to help educate other people and try to save lives instead of taking them. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. It's probably statistically not even likely, but I hope it happens. So instead of attacking him, instead of continuing the freaking race war and pushing more divide, I'm asking you guys to just pray for him and turn this horrible situation, hopefully, into something positive. And maybe, just maybe, that kid might have a shot when he's an adult of contributing to society after taking a young, innocent life. Just saying, man. Jobo, I've been here a lot long to LFA F you. Hey, Joe, dude, I'm sorry. I think I need to reintroduce myself. I think we got off on the wrong foot, Jobo, right? I'm very sorry. You know what? I really do. I am genuinely sorry. I feel like I need to apologize to you, right? I don't think that you are aware that I don't give a check. There we go. We're back. Sorry, when I hit the naughty button, I hit it a little bit too hard and I messed up the cord. I don't know where I left off, but technical difficulties. I don't know where we left off, but let me just reiterate one final time, okay? When I was going to drop the F-bomb, that's when I thought I did it, okay? My apology to you is, I'm sorry you didn't know who was guest hosting today. But trust me when I tell you, I do not care if you have a problem with me. That's my apology. My apology is, I'm sorry you didn't realize that I'm not the person that you're normally seeing. You want to file a complaint, hit up whoever you want, right? If you say some racist stuff and you say like, "Oh, you think that black people should be able to," no. That's not how I roll. Sorry. I am sorry. It's just not for the thing that you want me to be sorry for. Sorry. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's reset, regroup, what does Sean say? Regroup, reorient, resume the mission. The Washington Post is Zach. He is talking to. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, now I really am sorry, Zach. He is talking to W. Wilson in the chat. Maybe I was looking at the wrong person. You know what? Hey, man, if I had this whole thing confused, my bad. All I saw was I said, "Am I talking to you?" And you said, "Here, let me go back just in case." We're gonna move on from this, right? When I said, "Are you talking to me?" I saw yes, you, and I thought you were talking to me. Then I saw W. Wilson said, yes, it was for you. So if I just went off and I was mistaken and y'all just, did something to me, then I do apologize. But you know what? Hey, it's a live show. Sometimes things get heated. I think that if you follow my content, you know that I'm a little snippy. All right. Wade Wilson says I defended him because Joe lost it. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, hey guys, you know what? Let's all just be friends. Let's all be friends. Let's not turn this into an episode of Jerry Springer, okay? It's a little spicy today, all right? I got the door open for the dog, so it's hot as hell in here. All right. And scene. I was just kidding. Okay. The reflecting pool on the National Mall, this is from the Washington Post, has been refilled following President Trump's renovations. The project ultimately took 6 weeks, cost more than $10 million, far more than Trump initially projected. You don't hate the media enough, all right? You do not hate the media enough. Period. Especially the Washington Post. First of all, even in this side-by-side, it does look better, right? However, this is bullshit. Huh. All right, did I do the naughty button right that time? I'm gonna make sure I didn't just break stuff again. I'm gonna leave that naughty button alone for the rest of the show. Otherwise, I'm gonna be just muting myself. Okay, now this is the fake news. Let's show you the real news. Okay, this is a time lapse of the before and after. Okay, it's 39 seconds. Okay, wait for it. That's cool. Whoever set up this this thing for 6 weeks and just time lapsed the whole thing, that's pretty cool. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And I think they're going to show what it looked like at first. Okay, yeah, so here. Pause. That's loud. Pause. Okay, here is an actual before and after. The thing was green. It was Swamp Thing green. Look at it. Look at it at the bottom and look at it now. It looks way better. Closer shot. That's green. The water was green. Whoever, Washington Post, you remember when they did like that Joe Rogan thing when they put a filter on him? They definitely did that here because you can even look at the color of the stairs. See the color of the stairs? You see what they did here? And you see the color of the stairs here? They definitely filtered. They put a filter on this. This is definitely edited. What it really looked like was a swamp. The irony of Trump draining the swamp when he actually drained a swamp. Do we want to cover this really quick? We'll save that. There was one other thing. Okay, yes. Okay, so we're going to move on to just the news. Just the news, all right? We're going to skip the Middle East crisis because I'm sure you are sick of hearing it as much as I am. It's the same thing every day. Look, I am a huge Trump supporter. Huge, right? Huge, right? I even got the Trumpinator right here. He is by far the greatest president that I have had in my lifetime and potentially forever. I'm a huge Trump supporter. I am prefacing that because I'm about to criticize him, which we are allowed to do. Trump, stop saying the war's almost over. Every time he comes out and says, it'll be over in a couple of days, and then a couple of days later it's not, right? We go, you know, like, right? So that's my criticism. I really wish Trump would just stop that. I wish and I've said this before, look, I'm giving him 6 months from the time the war started before I start freaking out. I think it's a reasonable ask, right? I really wish that he would stop saying it's almost over, because it's just, it creates an expectation, and then it creates disappointment and faux failure. It looks like failure, but it's not. Trump is an optimist, and his messaging is optimism, and it's always been like that. But in this case, he's messing up because you're dealing with people who know that they don't have any military strategic leverage. They don't have any kind of leverage, except, right? They know the midterms are coming up, and they know that Americans are tired of the war. So they will drag this out as long as they can. So what Trump needs to do is, if you're going to count to 10, if you're going to say, if I count to 10 and you're still messing around, I'm going to bomb the shit out of you. I might have hit the naughty button a little late there. Bomb them. Either bomb them or come out and say, look, it'll be over when it's over. But whatever you do, Trump, you have to stop setting these deadlines, because I know what he's doing. He's trying to put pressure, and he's trying to message. He's trying to keep everybody optimistic, and it's almost here. It's almost here. It's almost here, right? It's almost here. It's almost here. It's not helping. So that's all I'll say. I have criticized Trump about several things in the past, right? Some big, some small. This is something that, I think we should do. I think that you shouldn't be a anti-Trumper, and you shouldn't be a Trump loyalist. You should be a pragmatic, call balls and strikes. I think that he's like Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady was the GOAT. But when Tom Brady threw an interception, I would yell at the TV. And I would say, oh, you idiot, I can't believe you did that, right? Treat it like that. Okay. That's all we're going to do on that first story. Next story, Cardi B slams disgusting Carmelo Anthony conviction. How a teenager stabbing case became a racial flashpoint in Texas. No, you go away. Carmelo Anthony, who is now 19, fatally stabbed Austin. We already know this. Despite the prosecution claiming, by the way, this is the prosecution claiming that the case had nothing to do with race, and Metcalf's father disavowing those who focused on race as a contributing factor. Winky wink, Jake Lang. It quickly became a flashpoint. Several prominent figures. Hey, there he is. Jason Whitlock called the violence senseless. Anthony should have pled insanity. All right. So essentially, this article is just a bunch of political commentators with a combined IQ of my dear Freezer talking about what happened. And we don't need to know what they think because they're all stupid. That's that story. That's the breakdown there on that news. Bill Gates tells Bill Gates tells lawmakers he was not aware of Epstein's crimes. Well, Bill Gates, if he said it, he's very credible. Bill Gates would never lie to you. Bill Gates would never in his entire life ever lie to you at all. Ever. It's like Jeffrey Epstein going like, I thought she was 18. Bro. All right, let's skim this. Bill Gates appeared before members of Congress on Wednesday and said he never witnessed or knew about any of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Gates was on Capitol Hill to answer questions about his relationship with Epstein as the House Oversight Committee continues its investigation into the late sex offender. Gates has taken part in a closed-door transcribed interview. I'm glad to be here, volunteer to testify. In the text of his prepared opening statement, he described how he first met Epstein, etc., etc., etc. Okay, here's my thoughts on this. Okay, if you knew Jeffrey Epstein, if you were associated with him in, you know, some whatever capacity of like, you know, like Trump, you know, it's like, 30 years ago, I kicked him out of my golf course because he was hitting on waitresses, right? That's one thing, right? But if you're Bill Gates... Look, dude, I'm not saying that one of my friends isn't a pedophile, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you can't hide your crimes, right? I'm not saying that you can't hide your crimes. But I think it would be really difficult, right? For because look, I used to live in Florida, right? I knew the guy that sold the drugs, right? I wasn't friends with him, but everybody knew he sold the drugs, right? People talk is what I'm saying, right? If you're in a social circle, right, people talk. And Trump even came out and he goes, yeah, people used to talk about how Epstein liked them young, right? Trump is like saying, yeah, we knew there was some rumors, right? Bill Gates was like buddy with Jeffrey Epstein for like 20-something years. Like, dude, you knew some weird stuff was at least going on, right? Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining outside, all right? Like, so that's my thoughts on that story. All right. Let's talk about a couple of important stories. We got about 10 minutes left, so let's get this. Let's get this in here. Oh, you son of a... Washington Post wants us to pay. No, we're not gonna. Key takeaways from the primaries in Maine, South Carolina, and Nevada. Okay, let's, we'll move on to... One sec. Is this? Oh, this is also Washington Post. Great. Both stories are Washington Post. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's go to Nancy Mace. Okay. Nancy Mace, she got absolutely demolished, right, in her race for governor. And she immediately endorsed the candidate that Trump didn't endorse, okay? So here's the at 44% of the vote counted. I know it's been updated since then. She got 11% of the vote. Let's see here. What was the percentage here? This was, it doesn't give me the percentage. Looks like she had 43,000. It was probably somewhere around 80% of the vote at this point. Okay, so this may sound crazy, right? And I know that this is gonna like blow the minds of the release the Epstein files people. This is gonna blow their minds, right? This is gonna be like, what? Are you crazy? That's definitely not true, but stay with me now, okay? Is it possible that the reason why all of the people who focused on the Epstein files are now losing their seats or leaving Congress, is it at all possible that the reason is not the Jews And it's because they talked about the Epstein files more than they talked about their own constituents. Is it possible? Is it possible that the people who are supposed to be representing their district were not representing their district, and every time somebody in their district saw them on TV, they were looking at their electric bill and the replacement rim that they need on their tire because the pothole that hasn't been filled in just smashed it up, and wondering why there's, the roads are dirty. And is it possible that every time somebody turned on the TV and saw Nancy Mace, MTG, Thomas Massey, and others, they were talking about a dead pedophile and a conspiracy theory about some cabal of elitists, right, on an island, right? Because look, here's the deal. If my representative was constantly talking about the Epstein files and I was like, and I had a kitchen table issue, I'd be like, hey, bro, did you forget about me? Because I think that's kind of more of a better explanation than the Jews did it, right? The Jews did it. The Jews, AIPAC. It's always AIPAC. Maybe it's not. I don't know, just something to think about. But yeah, there's a reason why Nancy Mace got destroyed. And it is because of the Jews. It's because she kept on focusing on a Jew named Jeffrey Epstein instead of her own voters. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going to play it. I don't know how this audience is going to want it. I don't know how you're going to feel about that one. But let's just say that Jake Lang drops a hard R in this video. Speaking of the Jews, he says in this video, I'm not going to play it so it's because it's a family-friendly show. He said, speaking about the Jews, we are not going to let you, the Jews, turn our kids into a bunch of hard R N-word lovers, right? Anyone who aligns with this dude on anything, right? I would hit the naughty button, but you know what I'm gonna say, right? You. Okay? We good? Good. That's great. That's awesome. Okay. And finally, final story of the day. Thomas Massey, again, still, by the way, this whole thing flowed really well, like it was intentional, completely accidental, right? It was it just flowed right into this story. Again, Thomas Massey, another guy who's like, Jews, Israel, and then he gets booted out of Congress and he blames the Jews again. Thomas Massey raised more money than his opponent, right? So if the Jews give a whole bunch of money, oh, and by the way, Thomas Massey's top donor, Jeff Yass, a Jewish billionaire Zionist. Thomas Massey, his campaign was funded by a Jewish billionaire Zionist. Google it. But he's still blaming the Jews for everything, and now he's going back to Israel attacked the USS Liberty. Now, if you guys have not seen the full debate with Cam Higbee and Phil Turney is the guy that Thomas Massey is parading around Washington right now going, he was on the USS Liberty and the Jews... Phil Turney is a Jew-hating liar. Thank you for your service. I'm glad you survived the friendly fire incident. You're also a Jew-hating liar. I have no problem saying that. Just because you served in the military it's not a shield that you can never be criticized about anything ever. So Cam Higbee, I recommend you go and find and watch this entire debate because it's a really good debate to watch. It's very informative. You'll actually learn a lot, but you'll also see how the types of people that Thomas Massie is using to prove his narrative. First, he paraded around Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators, calling them victims. Now he's parading around a Jew-hating liar, calling him a victim of the USS Liberty attack. 1 minute, 26 seconds. We got 3 minutes left. That's perfect. Here you go.
And I think your documents are not worth the paper they're written on, and if you get anything from Israel, it's not worth the paper it's written on.
And I just want to, again, make very clear that this that I showed earlier is not my document. This is yours. It's from your website. You're the president of the Liberty Veterans Association. You guys very conveniently removed the Naval Court of Inquiry from your website. And on top of that, we keep talking about sacrificing liberty. And you just said something even more interesting about how my Israeli documents are not worth the paper they're written on. I'm talking about the flight transcripts between the fighter jet pilots and the aircraft controllers. Again, this is the USS Liberty, the Sacrificing the Liberty documentary right here. The same communications that I am referencing, but you guys cherry pick them right here. Right here, Royal and the other fighter jet pilots that are communicating in the thing. This is the Sacrificing the Liberty documentary. Now, if you're wondering why it's on Twitter, it's probably because you guys actually took it down from YouTube just before this debate. I watched it last week and it was up on YouTube, but it's conveniently privated. I found the link and this video is private. We go back right here, Sacrificing the Liberty. Here it is right here on YouTube. It pops up, in the search, but when you go here, it's a private video. You can't watch it. Very convenient. I think that you guys probably didn't actually want me to watch the Sacrificing the Liberty documentary. Talk about Ward Boston recanting his testimony. As far as Ward Boston goes, Ward Boston's name and signature are on the.
There you go. I love Cam. Cam's a friend. He's a good guy, and he's just an amazing debater. And Phil Turney, who is a quote survivor of the USS Liberty attack, he uses his title of survivor to consistently just attack Israel and Jews. And Thomas Massie knows this. That's why Thomas Massie is parading him around like a trophy on Capitol Hill, to push the narrative that the reason he lost was not because he was in Congress for 14 years and did not pass a single bill. His approval rating in his own district was in the 30s, sometimes down to 19%. And he was in a majority MAGA district. And the reason why he finally lost is because he attacked Trump in a majority MAGA district, not Jews, right? It's not a smart idea. So, all right, it is 3 o'clock. So, Harold's coming up next, I think. Sorry, this isn't my hour, guys, so I don't know who's coming up next. But thank you so much for allowing me to take over this episode. Apologies again if I mistook any of the chats. I'm sorry. It's a very high tension day. But enjoy the next host, and I will see you all tomorrow at 9 a.m. if you want to join in for the daily breakdown. Thank you.
A partially valid, a half-truth, if you will, is being pushed.
I can't wait to find out all sorts of new and exciting things I didn't know about myself.
So you just hate Jews, bro?
Yeah, you're just an anti-Semite. Congratulations.
You're
Go
not
join.
What would you say?
Exactly.
Well, that's different. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
that just we are the only society on Earth who has the obligation to self-destruct, to blame ourselves for every problem that has ever existed, and we just think of ourselves as the worst human beings who are responsible for every bad.
How many Muslims are trying to stop Boko Haram? How many Muslims were confronting ISIS? How many Muslims, the extremists always win. So the peaceful majority, which I know many,